Hi, welcome to another Canto Roboflow training movie. The training movie of today is based on Roboflow 9.2 and is a workflow that reports on workflow activities. So you know that in Cumulus 9.2 you have the new status-based workflows, which can be tracked in record fields inside your catalog. Well, inside this catalog I have a workflow called request and approval, and this has three fields, which is the standard three fields for the workflow system, and this keeps track of all the different steps activities people did in the workflow. So depending on the record there will be many different actions here, and maybe a manager or somebody wants to get notified about them. Notification is one thing. We can also report on, for instance, all activities that are not finished, and so that's one of the possibilities. The workflow I created here is a hot collection template workflow that launches a query. The query maybe looks a little ugly or complex, but it just queries the item modification date of the request approval workflow activities. So you will notice that every activity, if I find any there, has an item modification date. So what I do is I use this item modification date to identify if this was modified in the last week. So the report says give me every record who has in that table a record that was modified in the last 7 days. $now minus 7D. If you're not familiar with this syntax, all you have to do is create the syntax in the advanced window here, and it will give you that syntax. So empty this side, go here, and all you have to do is say I want to go to that particular field, request and approval modification date, and then you can say from or after, and here you can type in now minus 7 days. If we go to advanced mode, well, now 7 days he doesn't accept there, but he does accept that here, because you can say here fields dollar, for instance, now or today minus 7 days. So here we can say minus 7 days and then find, and it will find all the records, and it doesn't match because it finds a space, and now it does. So that's the query you can copy, and if you copy that query inside Roboflow you can execute the workflow. I added a little Roboflow trick. I'm saying here order by and then item modification date, which is the modification date of the record. So you can sort by any record field, adding this syntax. This part of the syntax is not supported by Cumulus. What I do in the workflow is I test if I'm processing the first record. If so, I'm creating an export folder. I'm creating an export file which I called activities last 7 days with a date timestamp of today, and I create this file and I store it under a global variable. Why global? Because I'm going to use this export file. I'm going to create a header line in it, tab limited text, and I'm writing that tab limited text to that global file. Because I prefix it with global, because otherwise this object would disappear with the next record and you would not be able to write to the file then. And you don't want to create it for every record, because then you would end up with the same file for every record being overwritten, or a new one being created with a different name for every record. So this way I bundle it. Then I'm storing the record I'm opening the record table workflow activities. So there's a table field, request and approval. I'm opening it. I'm also storing two fields names, the record name and the record state, and maybe logically it would be visually nicer if we keep the open here close to this. I open it and I add an additional query to this processing. I'm processing the rest records, and I'm saying the same query here, that I only want to process the last 7 days, so it doesn't give me activities from outside that scope. And then inside I store the different field names. I'm storing the activity name, the description, the date, the user. And with the user I'm doing something special, because I'm getting from the user the UID back, which is that ugly name. So I have a special instruction, store user info, and I'm using that variable that I stored here from the record to find the name of that user. Finally, I construct one big line with all those variables together, separated by a tab character, and at the end I have a carriage return. And then I'm writing this to that same export file that I created before, and I'm saying type append, and I'm exporting and writing this report line that I created. Once I've processed all the records, I can close this table record field, and that's how the workflow is built. So if I run the workflow now, here I can say start. It gives me a report. So that's it, and I go to the folder where I output this. This is the last one it just created, and I'm opening it with Excel. It's just a text file, but I'm opening it with Excel to make it a little bit more attractive. And here you have it. I can bold the first columns. I can multi-select these columns to make them a little wider, and you can nicely see I have a report with the names of the files, the state, the final state therein, the activity, and ordered by the activities that were performed on these records, keeping nicely everything in the right order, creating a nice report. You can mail this report, you could just mail this text, and so there's several possibilities of how to deal with this, but this is the basic framework for reporting on activities. Thank you for joining on this demo movie, and see you on the next one.